already contributing their time and donating to hire full-time developers. The largest example of this being Godot.
Unity is no longer the indie dev dream engine. And that doesn't have to be a bad thing either. By now, I used Unity and Unreal Engine, so I was really excited to test out Godot. Is it actually as good as people say? Should I switch from Unity to Godot? I gave myself a week to learn Godot, and in that time I've spent over 70 hours doing exactly that. However, I needed to give myself some theme. Luckily, Godot Wild Jam came around to give me exactly that. It lasted for a total of 9 days, but I was determined to do all I could in 7 days. And start with Godot. Let's just download it. What am I supposed to do here? And what the hell is a node? Brackies. You know him and you love him. Or at least I hope so. He made this pair of videos detailing how to start working Godot, and that's what I watched to start out my learning process. I watched and watched and watched and oh wait, I made a player. My gosh, that's a magician right there. I even added all the cool platforming effects like jump buffering, coyote time, and the variable jump height. On the next 2 days I was able to add a lot more. I started with, wait. I didn't tell you what my game is about. I didn't even tell you what the theme is. Let's rewind a bit. The theme of the 71st Godot Wild Jam is unintended consequences. My idea was to make a platformer game about ninjas gathering on a mountain to fight. As for the theme, I wanted to make it so the ninjas use potions. Each potion would make one of your stats better and make another stat worse. This would mean that you have to choose whether you really want to risk improving one skill, because you would also get slightly worse. Phew, that was a bit of planning. Now, back to Godot. I continued by adding wall jumping. This emphasized the platforming part of this game. I also made an enemy with a health bar and gave the player the ability to attack. And now came the time for pixel art. On day 4, I made the player ninja. I might not be the best artist out there, to say the least, but this worked for my project. Then I learned to animate them, even if it didn't originally look all that good. And here comes the Scout Ninja. Of course I didn't intend this enemy to be a rounded square. Now, that's better. The Scout walks around from side to side to look for the player. After finding them, the Scout runs towards the player and they attack within range. I also made the terrain. I created a tile map with grass, but I also added some platforms in the background inspired by this Japanese castle. Here it is, though admittedly making tiles in Godot didn't seem all that intuitive at first. I also made a gargoyle for the upcoming enemy and a lantern to have another source of lighting. I added rudimentary sound effects. The thing I made on day 5 is so cool that it deserves an explosion, or even multiple. Potions spawning randomly, with random stats. And it's not just the potions, the potion UI too. Look at those stats, it's so cool. I made this effect by layering 3 progress bars with different colors. For the depth effect, I wanted to learn about particles and make a smoke effect, so don't be like me. If you even think about it, don't do it. Don't use GPU particles for web games, or your game softlocks. I've learned it the hard way. So now we have smoke. Cool. By now, I only had 2 days left. I had to speed up my workflow. On day 5, I wanted to make a Prologue background, despite my utter lack of environmental art skills. The game was taking place on top of a mountain, so I wanted to make a mountain backdrop. Luckily, Godot already has a node for moving backgrounds, so adding them was really easy. I then made this indicator to make it more clear when the enemy can attack, and when they are patrolling the area. I had all the assets necessary to finish the first level, and that's what I did. I also made some music, and the game started to look really promising. After every level, I wanted the player to travel to a cave where you would find a monk selling stronger potions. That's what was next on my list. I made some shelves, a table, pillows, and the monk himself. This is the entrance to the shop, and here is the shop itself. I also made a track for this area. Each shop has 3 random potions to offer. The first has a 1 strong positive effect and a 1 weak negative effect. The second potion has 2 effects each, just like the third one. However, the third one is slightly riskier. Godot Wild Jam has something called the wildcards. Every jam, the organizers show you 3 possible additions to your game that you can possibly implement if you wish. But I chose the first wildcard. I then implement a campfire that allowed you to rest, reset one of your stats, and go out into the next area. The 7 days is almost over, so let's put on some fast music and let's get this game finished. I added some post-processing, that was nice. The second enemy, the assassin. They just ambush you and then they throw shurikens at you or attack you with a sword if you get close enough. They can hide in bushes and behind gargoyles. I made another level of them. I planned to make another enemy that would fly above you and attack you from the air, but I didn't have enough time. That's why I only made 3 levels instead of 4. The third level was the last one, and it needed a boss. I got a bunch of ideas for the boss's attack patterns, just like him accelerating and running in walls. Well, that list takes a while. Since the 4th wall breaking enemy is here, I might as well say that I hope you're all doing well. Gamedev is exhausting no matter how you put it. It sure is for me. So if you're still here and you're enjoying the video, I would appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. Maybe even comment what you think. Let's get back to the video. And this is my idea. It's not an idea I use, however, because I didn't have enough time for it. Instead, this was my process. I'm not even kidding. I just pasted the scout and assassin on the boss, and allowed him to switch between the two states every few seconds. After making the menu, I was finished. My first Godot game was finished. I was surprised by how much easier it was to develop in Godot. This engine is a lot more lightweight than Unity. Immediately I noticed that my potato laptop wasn't burning when I was using it. I'm only gonna talk about 2D because that's what I used by now. Godot 2D is made for pixel art, unlike Unity, where even the official pixel art camera didn't do a great job when it comes to pixel art. Also, you had a bunch of pre-made nodes for things that would take some time if I were to make them in Unity. Most notably, player movement was basically implemented by default together with collision detection in this single node, Character Body 2D. It's really useful for game jams where your time is quite limited. I really started to enjoy Godot's tile map in the animator. They were fast and convenient to use. You just paste a sprite sheet, and then you choose which sprites you want to use for the animation. As for the negatives, the floating game window was a bit clunky to work with. Debugging didn't feel as good as in Unity. Unity has a bunch of built-in profiler tools, but even more importantly, it allows you to change your scene and see the changes during runtime. Godot has their mode view tab, but it isn't nearly as comfortable to work with. At least I only needed to write 9 letters instead of 14 to debug my program. That is in fact how my debugging process goes. This is actual debugging code from the game. Another thing that I didn't like as much was post-processing and lighting. Many effects such as lens distortion and chromatic aberration were missing. You needed to do a bit more work than in Unity to reach a similar effect. I also miss the color wheels. Overall, I would say that Godot is a great replacement for Unity in 2D. My workflow here was significantly faster, but taking a week to learn an engine, that basically seems like the bare minimum. So why limit myself to 1 week? Why not let myself try this engine for a few more games? For anyone curious, yes, the potato is okay.